Today we are learning how to create our solar system. We have the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Each one of you will have templates that you will need to trace. So you'll take your pencil, you will grab for the Sun template, place that down on the paper with the broad hand supporting the template. You are going to trace around and create your circle. Once you have created the circle, pull up the template and write Sun on the outside of the circle. This way you can label which circle belongs to which planet and for the Sun. I placed mine somewhat in the order that the planets will go onto the black sheet, my black background. We're going to be doing an oil resist. It's a wax resist where when we lay down the oil pastel onto the paper, we will apply paint on top of that. And what the wax will do from the oil pastel will push away all of the water off of it. Sometimes it will create a really cool texture going across as it like bubbles up, moving away from the wax. We are going to begin with the Sun. For the Sun, you just need an oil pastel that is yellow. So grab a yellow oil pastel. And as you color in the Sun, leave some white spaces exposed to the inside the circle. As you can see, I am not pushing or applying much pressure as I am coloring in the Sun with the oil pastel. I'm leaving some white areas exposed on the edges, continuing pulling down the Crayola, the oil pastel. Not filling in all of the white space. And then I will put the oil pastel back in its bin. Next, I will use orange tempera cake, which is orange paint. Now, as you see, I am taking my paintbrush, dabbing it off onto my napkin or a rag. If you feel like you need a little bit more water, just kind of slightly dip your paintbrush into the water. And then you are going to follow along inside the circle, pulling that paint across your canvas. It is okay to get messy with it because at a later point, once all of this has dried, you will cut out all of these circles, all of your planets and the Sun. So do not be afraid to paint over the oil pastel to cover up all of those white areas being exposed underneath the oil pastel and onto the sides. And we are going to begin with Mercury. As you look on to here, you'll see that Mercury is dark green oil pastel and gray tempera paint. So how we will do that is we are going to take a dark green oil pastel and we are going to kind of do the same thing that we did to the sun with the yellow oil pastel. We're going to gently apply pressure, just scribbling across Mercury, not filling up the whole circle, allowing some white area to be seen. I place my oil pastel back into the bin. Then I grab my paintbrush. Before I get the next color that I need to think about how am I going to make gray? And I'm going to clean off my paintbrush to get that orange off of there. And to be able to make gray, I get a lot of white onto my paintbrush and get a little bit of black. Come back to the white, go back to the black, and get as much as you can to create this light gray color. Once you have the gray color, do the same thing. Apply it over the oil pastel and the exposed white areas. It is okay to get messy. Like I said, we will cut these out at a later point. Next, we are going to work on Mars. Mars is kind of like Earth, where it has 3 continents, clusters. So we're going to take the red and we are going to scribble in onto the edge, creating slight cluster there. It can be in a leaf pattern kind of shape, a leaf shape, or a flower shape, or you can just create kind of like a small circle, half circle onto the edge, but you're going to separate each of the red continents away from each other, just like so. Next, we are going to create a brown color. The best way to create that brown color is, since we have orange in our palette here, our paint palette, we're going to get a little bit of orange and rub that onto the red and get a little bit of blue, go back and forth, try to get what we can to make a brown color. So it's starting to look like a brown. I'm using my napkin here to kind of test and see. Maybe I might need a little bit of yellow here to get that nice brown color. So I like to use my 3 primary colors mostly. So I have red, blue, and yellow as my primary colors to create that brown. And it looks like I got it. If you feel like the brown might be a little too dark, you can dab it off onto your napkin. Like I said, it is okay to get messy and to go over the oil pastel. And we're going to begin with Venus. The colors that you need for Venus is purple and red. When you go to color in Venus, you're going to create a C on the edge of Venus. And you can make it thick. Apply the oil pastel thick, leaving some white areas exposed. So I have my C. Then I will take the red and I will do the same thing, overlapping it slightly over the purple, creating another C with the red. Filling in gently with the rest of the red, just picking up the pressure, not allowing a heavy hand. I have a very light hand, and I'm scribbling across, creating some kind of texture onto my paper. Now that I am done with the red oil pastel, I'm going to again grab my paintbrush, clean it off, and I'm going to apply a pinkish red. So you're going to get a lot of red and a little bit of white and create a pink color. And then you're going to graze it over, pulling all that water into those white areas that are exposed. Like I said, it is okay to go over the oil pastel because this is creating that wax resist. Don't worry about if there's any dirt-like particles coming off from the oil pastel because we can clean that later. Now, Earth, you are going to use a green oil pastel and do the same thing that you did with Mars, creating an illusion of continents. So I like to think of them as like an acute triangle, an acute triangle. And you color it in. So draw an acute triangle coming off the edge. And then you are going to do the same thing. Create a triangle that comes over to the edge, giving some space in between each one. Giving that illusion that there are 3 continents. If you want to, for fun, you can put a little dot in other areas on the outside. Now that we are done with the green oil pastel, we are going to apply a blue tempera paint over to create the water. So I have my blue tempera paint, and I'm going to drag it across, covering up, going over the oil pastels. It is okay if I go outside the lines. And now that I have applied that, I'm going to set my paintbrush back. Now for Saturn, you will use a yellow, pink, and orange oil pastel. Later on, I will show you how to create the ring for Saturn. We're going to be doing this process next. So now that we have our 3 colors, like I said, we have yellow, pink, and orange. You are going to take the yellow and you are going to cover 1/3 of your circle. Again, creating kind of like a C shape and then dragging it lightly across, covering 1/3. Do not apply that much pressure to it. You don't need to fill in all that space. Then you're going to take your orange and you're going to do the opposite side. You're going to fill that in with some orange. You can leave a little bit of white edge. You don't have to go all the way towards the edge of the circle. And you are going to fill it in just like so. And then you will take the pink and you will overlap it onto the yellow, filling in that empty space in between the yellow and orange. With light pressure, applying the oil pastel. Now that we have the yellow, pink, and orange layers down, we will take a purple tempera paint and apply that just like how we did the other planets and the sun. We're going to go over all the oil pastel, covering up all of that white that is being exposed, that we can see through that oil pastel. Next is Jupiter. Jupiter can be a little bit tricky. As you can see here, Jupiter has many rings to it that create this strip type of pattern. So we will grab an orange, and let's go ahead and use the orange to draw the dot that is on Jupiter. So from off center, find the center, and you're going to off center that orange and create a nice circle, filling that in right there. That's all you need. Now with the orange, you can go up a little bit. I like to say you can take 2 fingers. If you have small fingers, you can do 3, but I say with 2 fingers, figure out where that line's going to be and draw an orange line connecting one side to the other. So it's going to be a slight shape of a smiley face, a nice thick line. Now we're going to hold on to that orange, place that to the side, and we're going to take red, purple, and blue. With the red, you're going to layer a red strip right underneath the orange. Take the purple, you're going to layer a purple strip underneath the red. With the blue, you're going to do the same thing. Blue strip underneath, leaving some areas exposed. You do not need to apply a heavy hand to the oil pastel. You just scribble across. And you're going to keep repeating that. So come down a little bit, skipping between the blue and the ring, the circle here. And you're going to draw a line connecting the edge to the circle and this edge to the circle. And then again, apply the purple to one side, apply purple to the other, and then you're going to apply the blue just to one side. Then you are going to take the blue again and draw color in just the slight edge, gradually dragging it with a light hand, not a heavy hand. And same with the red, you're going to take a little bit of red, create a band here, take the blue, overlap it, and then at the top we're going to take that orange, we're going to fill in some of this orange here, just a slight half circle, kind of filling that in, creating some texture. We're going to apply blue on top of this orange. Take some red, kind of overlap it inside of that orange a little bit, drag it down slightly to the blue, fill in some of that area with a little bit of red, just kind of with a light hand letting it drag across the page. So what I did there is I took the red and the orange and I just, with a light, very light hand, mostly using my wrist and my arm, to let the color of the orange pastel to graze across. Now that I am done with that, I'm going to apply a yellow. Now if your yellow is dirty, take some water, clean it up, and just keep doing the same thing where you clean up that yellow until you have a fresh color underneath. So it looks like I'm starting to get that yellow that I want. And then I'm going to overlay the yellow tempera paint over all of the white areas exposed inside of Jupiter. Now that we have Jupiter, now we are completely done with the tempera paint. So we will push that out of our way. And with Neptune and Uranus, you are only going to be using oil pastels. Now with Uranus, you need a light green color and the blue oil pastel. So I have light green and blue. What I'm going to do with the light green is I'm going to fill in all of the empty space inside of the circle for Uranus. With a thick layer, heavy hand, filling in the entire area of the circle. And then with the blue, you are going to try to create a shadow effect to it, just like how we learned from Wayne Thiebaud. Wayne Thiebaud used blue and purples to create the shadows. So we're going to go along the edge of one side, overlapping it on top of that green, and then we're going to come to the other side and do the same thing, but not connecting these pieces. Do not connect here. Just stop at a certain point and drag it back down. You do not need to smooth them together because they are already blended. If you feel like you need to blend, you can come and take the green again and overlap it again. Now Neptune is a super fun one because it just uses blue and white. If your blue is dirty from the green, go ahead and clean it off before you use it. So I'm going to apply blue, creating a half circle shape like a C. So half of the circle, I'm covering that. So I'm at the halfway point of the circle, and I create a C. And I'm going to create a thick line of C, filling in all of that empty white space. And then I'm going to skip this area, not applying any blue here. I'm going to come up and draw a line. So it's kind of like a D. So you're creating kind of a D with a little bit of curves coming off the line. Once you've created that D shape inside, you're going to take the white and you are going to blend in that white negative space. Those blend in the white and blue, creating a tint of blue inside. And you're going to come out to the outside and fill in that space. And there we have it, my friends. We have all our planets colored.
So, once you have finished all of your planets, set your paper onto the drying rack and wait for it to dry. So that is the end of the process creating our planets. When we come back at a later point, when this is dry, we'll cut all of our planets and sun out of this white paper and place it onto a black paper. But this black background we will have to do at a later point using a splatter effect. So this was the tutorial on how to do a waxed resist using oil pastel and tempera paint, creating our planets. Thank you for watching.